Hello and welcome to Room Escape Divas, your podcast on everything escape rooms. Today, we are going to be starting something new. We are going to be starting what we hope to be a continuing video series of a spotlight on the various designers in the escape room industry. And what better way to start than with Nick Moran. Welcome!
I
can think of many, too.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. We're both on the same page there. There are so many better ways to start.
Look, you put me on the spot, Earl. You just say start, and
I know.
come out of my mouth.
And the sad thing is, hopefully people who don't know our podcast don't also know that Nick Moran has been on a number of times, and all we do is troll each other.
Yes, well, I would say mostly we troll Amanda. And also the Room Escape artists' lackluster efforts in promotion has become a running theme.
Room Escape Divas.
Room Escape Divas.
Yeah, Room Escape artist is an entirely different story.
Yeah, that's nothing to do with you. I don't know why I said Room
now
Escape. Who even knows what that is?
Yeah.
Although, we can't troll David and Lisa. Not yet.
You
anyway.
totally can, and you probably should. There should be a moral imperative to do so. Please continue, Amanda.
Yes. Sorry, man, pans. Now, the really cool thing is if you're watching this on video, and you can really only see this on video, but look how crisp and clear Nick Moran is in comparison to the rest of us. And now I'm thinking we should get better cameras.
Well, actually, you can pick up, I feel like a second-hand camera salesman. You can pick up a Panasonic GH2 for only about £130, or that's like 6,000 Canadian dollars, 10,000 Canadian dollars on eBay.
Playing online games, if it's in Europe, then we might as well just like mortgage our house.
Exactly. It's, and then you can hook it up using an Elgato Camlink 4K. Costs you almost nothing and looks better than any of those webcams that are £200 or £300 out there, which are all scams. They're all scams. Everything is a scam.
Everything is a scam.
Everything is a scam.
You look amazing. You look marvelous there.
Thanks. This is veering into objectification.
Yeah, Errol's just going to be drooling over the camera quality.
Please continue. This never happens to me. I want to feel like the prettiest belle at the ball, apart from this digital ball, and only I'm looking nice because of Elgato Camlink 4K.
It's really nice.
Please continue, Amanda.
Okay. So apart from, admiring the camera that Nick has, we have Nick here today because you have a very exciting project coming up. And part of the reason we were going to do it was to say, hey, let's talk about your Kickstarter. And funnily enough, which you started last week. So how about you tell us a bit about that and how it's going?
Yeah, the answer is it's going quite well, actually, surprisingly. So it's called Spectre Vox Paranormal Investigators. I'm wearing a branded jumper.
I know,
which, because
right
of the high fidelity of my webcam, you can see every crisp. This is threaded, guys. This is not printed. It is threaded. It cost me an extra £7. Was it worth it? No. But don't worry, it's worth it for this call alone. No, I don't go out the house and see people. So it's exclusively for Room Escape Divas benefit.
Wow. If you want, we can even take your Spectre and Vox logo and then we can just add it to the video. Instead of, normally I just say Nick Moran speaks with the divas, but now we can just put on Spectre and Vox.
You absolutely, it's your life and it's your podcast, and I will not tell you how to do it, apart from I will advise you start marketing.
I hope you have more pictures or more video of yourself just staring at the camera, so then I can take screenshots of the crisp and clear video you have, so we can have that as a thumbnail.
There's so much of it that it's upsetting because I put it all together for the Kickstarter. I'll give you a bit of the Kickstarter now. Obviously, I probably should talk about it since it's part of the reason I'm here, I guess. So Spectre Vox Paranormal Investigators, that's the thing I'm doing, which is its first project, which is the one we're on, is kind of an at-home escape game, but very different to a lot of the others that are out there. A lot of the others are kind of a lot of paper elements, a lot of small scale elements. This is kind of a large scale haunted house set filled with lights and powered by interactive audio using software called Loctopus, which is actually developed by the guys behind Room Artist.
Teamed up.
I knew that. I will say that I do my research. So
wow,
yes,
actually, you know what? I knew about Loctopus. I didn't know you teamed up with Loctopus.
Yeah,
I didn't see the Loctopus aspect. I only saw the Alexa aspect.
So yeah, so you should have put two and two together. I know. Errol. Oh, you were so close to that.
I know, especially when David told me, "Oh, I'm working on something with Nick."
Errol makes puzzles.
Well, I guess it's gamekeepers become poachers or some sort of inversion of the classic maxim. But so that's how it works. And effectively, it's made from sort of, I think, 260 odd individual laser cut pieces. It's really intricate. It's really hand painted.
It's gorgeous.
Handmade. It's an amazing. I mean, if various Room Escape Divas listener, if you haven't seen it, it's worth going to the Kickstarter, even if you don't want to buy it, just to see.
Watch the video. You had me. I think when the boat was like, and working lights, and I was like, what?
Well, while you're explaining it, Nick, we are going to be showing the video on YouTube's because we can do that.
I can. I can also do something saying, look at how nice I look because we shot it on red, so that's lovely. If you ever shot anything on red, the footage is impossible to wrangle and incredibly high fidelity. So there we go. There you can. That's something, some voiceover to have with the audio as well. So yeah, and the idea is that it's the first case of a kind of paranormal investigation team, and you're kind of exploring this old Gothic mansion, uncovering the tale of a missing writer. He's a hack novelist. Actually, I haven't really talked much about the stories. This is actually something I think would be fun to talk to, especially Amanda, who does have a lot of interest in that particular area. So the story kind of like really picks up. It's sort of set in the late 1890s. And one element that I became really interested in when I was younger was obviously, which happened in other corners of my life to be useful, is all the various other rip-offs of Arthur Conan Doyle. So they had this book by Wordsworth Classics, which is called Shadows of Sherlock Holmes. And there are all these various people who wrote terrible rip-off Sherlock Holmes stories. And it's about this guy who writes really bad, like sub-Sherlock Holmes stories. And he's missing this kind of hack writer, second-rate novelist. And he's coming to this kind of like strange old house. And he's this strange, twisted kind of character full of ego and jealousy. And it's really uncovering his relationship with the supernatural as you delve into this house and the people that lived before there, which are kind of pushing him further down this spiral in which he goes down. And you're picking up that trail as you go down. So it's really like Spectre Vox games, they're kind of the way that ghosts work in the world is they're all based around they're kind of like emotional states that feed off certain types of emotional energy. So this is kind of all really about envy and jealousy, and that's kind of what the story is really about. So it's all about kind of about one big theme, kind of set over generations as you kind of explore the house and uncover the various things beforehand.
That does sound so Gothic.
It's very Gothic. It's very Gothic, but I mean, like there's another. This is actually the second game we worked up. We're not doing with our first product because the first product was utterly not the right thing to launch with because it just doesn't fit. But we're going to launch that one next. And the next one is all about nostalgia, a ghost that are kind of all about nostalgia, which is a very different kind of emotional aspect. So yeah, that's kind of a thing. It's going to be.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So you're launching the first product within the same house? Is that what you mean? Or
yeah, I'm just saying this might be a year away, the next game. So like the first product is all about one house and one particular ghost, one particular paranormal aspect, and all the chapters and stories within it really are all about that one central ghost and that one central idea, and how that ghost has interacted with the various people who've been there, whether it's recently with this novelist or his uncle and his aunt was this explorer who originally kind of built this house to her specifications. So it's all about those kind of things and this family over generations. And what you are is you're trying to pick this novelist whilst you're journeying through the house and unpicking fragments of the stories and the people that live there and how they interacted with the ghost.
And then what you hope to do, from what I gather, is that you may release other episodes within the same dollhouse?
Yeah, definitely. That's absolutely going to happen. Well, I mean, that's certainly our plan. And, obviously, if suddenly everyone hates it and everyone's like, I don't want to play any more of this. This is the worst thing ever. We'll be like, maybe we don't want more pain and suffering, and we won't release these DLCs. But provided people actually do enjoy it, of course, we want to keep supporting it because firstly, from our perspective, it's such a difficult thing to make, and I find it really interesting, the kind of debate in the community around it, because a lot of my escape room builder friends were like, how can you build this for this small amount of money? And then some people who have no idea how to, like, wow, it's £130. And I was like, it's the same price as 6 months of Hunter Killer, guys. That's a box of paper that comes to your door. Like for 6 months, this is the same amount of playtime, and it's a wooden house. It's 1 meter wide. Jesus Christ, cut me some slack. It's pretty good value. So yeah, like I mean, the main thing is like with the story and the kind of world of Spectre Vox is really kind of intricate and really deftly woven. But this story is such a nice, like really nice story. And there's what's great is from our perspective is we designed a kind of first one which is like 14 hours long, and we were like, Jesus Christ, this is crazy. This is too long. So what we got to do is rather than kind of what people often do is they start off with a story and they're like, how do we bump it out? We had this whole thing planned, and we were like, all right, let's make it so it's all the best bits. So let's make it so let's crunch it down, because originally we were going to have the house with like 4 floors, and we were like, this is going to be like 600 quid. What's going to happen?
Were you just going to come to people's houses and build them a new house? Like,
well, it was when we worked it out that some people like if you were small, you'd be terrified by the thing that's in your living room, and we just thought, and you could possibly just live inside it, and we thought maybe we've gone a bit too big during this prototyping phase. Learned a lot. Let's move forward into something more cohesive. Yeah, it's a beautiful device. I think, as one of the few people who have actually seen it in the world, it's almost like the pictures don't quite do it justice. I know they do as well, because the pictures are amazing. They had a photographer come and just smashed it and just took really nice photos. But it's just such a kind of beautiful object, and all the pieces are really nice, kind of, and what I really like about it and what we're trying to do is create something that in the before 4 times when life was normal, in the long ago, I just channeling Cloud Atlas. It was true that people used to go out and do things. They used to go out and go to immersive experiences, and I think one of the things that I personally struggled with a lot in lockdown is that I find it difficult to switch off. Video games help. Video games are very good at doing that. But I don't have that thing where I feel lost in a show or lost in something. And I think the ability to have something which feels like a set where you can turn off all the lights in your house and the house just lights it. You're just there in the house, just you in the house, and you're interacting with it without a screen, because that's something we touched on beforehand, that I'm personally having quite a lot of screen fatigue. I'm getting pretty sick of Zoom calls.
Thanks for coming on, Nick.
No, not this one. Just endless, pointless meetings about nothing, and which could have been done by email. Naming no names.
Could have been an email. Yeah,
could have been any email.
I have many of those. Yeah.
This could be. We're going to imagine we did it line by line, a big long chain, and just screen recorded it. Now that's an abstract version of Room Escape Divas. Before I do continue on that note, I just want to say, you're not both divas. Only Errol is a diva. That is like this is not Room Escape Divas. This is Room Escape Diva singular podcast.
Diva singular.
I don't know. Have you heard Madpans go on about story?
Many times, and always of my own volition. So that doesn't sound like very diva-like behavior, does it? I've always chosen to click those links, chosen to attend those talks, chosen to open up my big old ear holes and drink in orally all the sound of Amanda I can possibly eat with my mind.
We could put that as your next
distressing
quote. Oh my goodness.
Errol is definitely more abrasive than I am.
That's spoken not like a diva. Definitely a bit more abrasive than I am. I'm just so diplomatic. Should become like Room Escape Diva and the diplomat.
I always end up feeling guilty if I start to criticize too much.
Oh, I see. You're casting a little tiny bit of shade on Errol, just the tiniest bit.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's shade to say he doesn't have empathy. He doesn't have empathy.
Do you not have empathy, Errol?
Oh, I have sympathy.
Yeah.
So, if the difference between empathy is you actually feel it, and sympathy you recognize other people feel, then sympathy makes sense.
It's good to know. I look forward to finding out what part of the spectrum you are in fact on. Anyway, to go back to the product, it was trying to create that kind of real sense of emotion, that kind of immersive experience that actually, like, for me, I really miss sets. That's one reason I like in escape rooms. I like the feeling that someone has built something that I am in, that is a vehicle for gameplay, that takes me through a mental journey that's somewhere else other than my house. And what better way than to go to someone else's house, but a long time ago, that's full of a ghost, singular. Or is it?
A singular ghost. And you were mentioning it's... Oh yeah, go for it, Errol.
Like, as we said before, it's gorgeous. Who designed all of that?
So my partner on this project is a man called Glenn Hughes, and Glenn is, it's a company called Tandem Set and Scenery. And he and I have, every project I've worked on, I've worked with Glenn. So like he's built every game I've built, and we just know how to work together. And he's got a great team of makers, carpenters, all this stuff, a whole workshop just outside London. I put just over there. That's just outside of London, in Paddockwood, which is in Kent. It's a very boring place. Don't go there. Apart from the workshop, which is lovely and full of games. But so it was kind of one of these things. We originally started talking at the beginning of this, and I was like, I want to do an at-home game, and he's like, cool, who doesn't? And I'm like, I want to do it.
Have you seen them lately? Oh my goodness.
And so we bought some at-home games. The kind of like, the ones before. Now there's kind of a lot more better ones along the way, but back then it was like Hunter Killer or Bunter Bliller. Or which Hunter Killer is like has a really good structure. There's like stuff I really respect about Hunter Killer, and it was a pioneer in its own way. But it's not for me what I want to do. And it was trying to make something that I personally would be excited by. And when I looked at 6 months Hunter Killer, I was like, that's a lot of good profit in that for them. How can I make significantly less money than Hunter Killer?
Yeah,
I hear you. That's how my life operates too.
Yeah, exactly. Like I start off, how do I get those margins really down?
Like let's just get them really razor thin.
Yeah. So, what is a wholesale price? Will someone explain that to me one day? And it was and the truth is this isn't a project about making huge amounts of money. That's not the goal. We've done really well on Kickstarter. We're just about to reach £100,000, which is really great. But the truth is that like it's not like we're putting in a factory or anything like that. There's no massive economies of scale. What we do is that there's the same margin each product because all labor, all done in house. So for us, we want to do it as well as possible because we want as many people to play it, and we're really excited by it. So that's our goal, is to just get it out there to as many people, so that we can start making more of them, making bigger and better games. And if this model works, because I'm certain it does, because we tested it, people were like, oh my God, in the same way that is a really good thing, when people are like, oh my God, it's so obvious. We've just put this with this and put this together. I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah, the best thing ever is when someone really should have thought of it is cleverer than me. And so that's kind of really what our ambition is. And we've got so many more games we'd love to make, and so many more things we'd love, like, we've got so many more things that, depending on how people like this particular game, as well as DLC, we could, if in the future, expands the house. There's so much more stories that are left untold in this particular house, which we're really excited by as well. So it's really where, we'd love to do more with this game. We'd love to do more with other games in the future, but this is really just a jumping off point for this world. And we really need to kind of have that support from the community, which has been great because people have been really nice. Loads of like escape room friends, like shared it, put it on their social media, put it on their things. And that's been so helpful because it's been, 6 months of a labor of love and 6 months of so many sleepless nights, and things like me worrying about the Victorian pump station. And like, is that how do we fit that in the model? Because it's not really technically part of the house. Where do we put that? Do we put it next to it? Like, because he has to go in the sewers at one point. So we have the sewer, like where how do we even make it go? We could put it on the grass. We just look like the Victorian pump station dumped in the grass, things like that. Those are the things that keep me up at night. But yeah.
Victorian pump station. So is that like a gas station, or
you just don't need to know about it? You'll see it. You'll see it at one point.
Maybe it's like a septic tank.
Oh, that's
in a way, I guess it is. But also, like, one thing that I haven't really touched upon, which is, I think, the part which excites me most is that this game was mostly such poor vehicles for storytelling, partly because you just don't have that time and space for like actor-led content and narration and things like that. And the fact is that ultimately using the octopus, you're kind of guiding this character through this thing and kind of instructing it. And it feels like that kind of adventure game thing. You have a lot of time to build that relationship with the character and other characters you discover. And the voice actors we've hired are really great. We spent like a month casting, and they're absolutely great. You know, normally I'm just like, I just friend of a friend, but this was time it was proper done.
You did auditions? Whoa.
Wow. Yes.
And then if you were to look at the pictures, I mean, getting back to how cute it is, the thing is adorable. I noticed when I'm looking through your pictures that there's a lot of shots of the bathroom. That's
because it's my favorite room.
Yeah.
And I put together the Kickstarter, and I put together the Kickstarter page, and I really like the bathroom because the little toilet.
I know, it's adorable. Look at it.
Like someone on the Kickstarter, someone said there's too many shots of the toilet, and I took it out. Took one out, and then just before launch, I put it back in because I was like, no, we're launching the way I want to launch, which is full toilet.
No,
full toilet.
Yeah,
I don't want to see that picture of the greenhouse. I want to see a picture of a toilet. Who cares about the summer house in the garden? We actually don't have any pictures of the garden because I didn't put them in because I forgot.
Toilet. But
the toilets. But
it has that,
toilets.
and it's really cool because it has that Clue or Cluedo feel because you have them all labeled. Like this is the bathroom, and of course it's really the only room I know because I think that's the one you can clearly see in like every other shot.
yeah. I mean, just like, look, everyone has their fetish, and that's not mine. So don't look at me like that. So, but yeah, I just think it's more. I just love the cute little toilet. Yeah, there's rooms. There's a summer house in the garden which we haven't actually put on there, which is really nice. There's lots of little, like there's again the Victorian pumping station, which is kind of nice and industrial, little tiny.
That is.
You will find out soon enough. It's kind of roughly at the midpoint of the game. So
okay. I'm really excited by.
I have another question.
Okay,
your hands vibrate.
I have questions too. But
I know. We have all sorts of questions because sorry, and I'm like jumping in as you're talking about the garden, and as you're talking about, are you also looking in that you could have like add-ons and expansions? This will be the greenhouse. It goes here.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, you can.
We haven't thought about we kind of intellectually thought about that, but just looking into things like shipping and international cost for stuff, what we want to make sure is like just. I don't want to do that thing the video games do all the time, which is like, oh, but the real product is just around the corner, you know, like that thing. I'm gonna be like, no, this is it. This is the product we're making. We're gonna try our best to support it if people like the product and want to keep investing in it.
Like they did with Zork, right? Because originally it was one big game, and then they had to break it down into 3.
I didn't know that. Is that what they did?
Yeah, well, the computers couldn't handle, home computers couldn't handle the mainframes that they had at the time, from what I understand. Same thing with Catan, right? Didn't they do that with Catan? It used to be with Knights and Cities and with Seafarers and whatever, and then they didn't think it was too huge, and so they brought it down to the base, which is that little island of Catan first.
Board games do that, possibly because of Catan, the one of the big daddies of the board game industry. They always like, oh, you really loved the game, but you just haven't got the best bit, because that's then like another just coming around the corner, and you just pre-order it now, actually on Kickstarter. It's happening, so I think what we're trying to do is avoid that, and we don't know whether we'll like. This is the first Kickstarter I've ever done. It's a complete mystery to me. The whole thing is mystified.
This is your first Kickstarter?
First ever Kickstarter.
Oh wow! For some reason, I thought you've done more because you're part of very many successful things, and so I just assumed you did.
That's a kind of you to say. But mostly my friends I've got a friend called Mael, who has a company called Beehive Books, and they do enormously successful Kickstarters. Like they did like this tarot thing. They did this like amazing Dracula chest thing, which is like exploring all the story of it and handwritten letters and all that kind of stuff. And they do really high-end, amazing art installation Kickstarters. And she was like, "You're crazy. You should have done like a Kickstarter for a pin first, just to learn how it is. And I'm like, well, Maya, I know I said I'd go to you like a month for a Kickstarter, but it's happening in 2 days. Could you please just tell me what else I have to do? And she's like, you don't listen to me. I'm like, well, then listen to the advice you can give me now.
Did she indeed give you advice?
She is the most generous person. So of course she stayed up to be digitally with me during the launch of the Kickstarter.
So I would say for anyone listening, because this is what I want for our listeners to understand, that if you're thinking, well, Nick Moran was able to launch Kickstarter very successfully with barely any work, so I should be able to do it too. And that's not true at all.
If we want to talk about work of Kickstarter, I think that's actually really, really essential.
Yeah.
Because
we'll get to that later. Sorry, because I want to go deep into depth about that. But I'm worried that some people will listen and think to themselves, oh, it's totally, and it is doable. But I don't want anybody thinking that, because there are a lot of people that think that Kickstarter is just free money, and it's not. It's an intense amount of work. But anyway, going back to Spectre and Vox, we can go talk more about, because if you have anything else to say about any more of the features, because it's just a pretty cool product in itself.
Yeah, I mean, if we take away everything and just strip it down to its bare essentials of being just a beautiful house full of kind of gameplay, I think what for me, what I think we're really proud of is that it's both a beautiful device, because we were like, we've got to make something that if you don't care about the game, it's lovely and worth the money. If you care about the game but not the object, the game is great and the voice acting, the performances are great. And if you only care about the story and don't care about the other two, then it's also great. So what we did is we had a tripartite development process, and the final part was the house. Because what we didn't want to do is we knew, because I've worked with Glenn so much that I'm confident about Glenn to build a beautiful object. I just know Glenn could build a beautiful object in his sleep, and almost certainly has done. And so for us, we spent so much time on the first part, which is just working out on paper, working out all the individual components, working out the story, and really focusing on themes and script and things like that, and focusing on the actors. Before we'd even made the house, we had put really laser cut a single thing. We'd got everything else there because we wanted to spend the time in the development process. And I think what I've enjoyed most is that I very rarely have the time to do a proper development process. And because I didn't really feel the time pressure due to this world event stuff, I actually, although I was working constantly, I didn't have that feeling personally that we had to rush to the conclusion. We knew we wanted to launch for October because it was going to be a haunted house. We had the time to, we developed a whole alternate game, completely, conceptually, everything. Oh, wow. Which is completely done. I mean, that was 2.5 months of work, but we had the space to be this isn't the right game. This isn't the right game for now. This is definitely a second game. This is a difficult second album. We don't need to have our difficult second album right from the beginning. It's too complex. It's too complex. So we already need people on board to understand this product. So it's kind of we're look, let's push that one 1.5 years, a year, whatever it is. Focus on the one thing that we know that people will get. That's a simple sell that we know would like to make. So that was the kind of thing. And just, I think what we've hopefully, if you're looking at the Kickstarter images, the Errol is cut in front of you with, I don't know, a Ken Burns effect or something, it's all sliding in and out horribly. And then,
Ken Burns, I'll make it go slower. And then I'll make sure that I cut off the important parts as it slides in, and then when you can almost see it, I fade.
We'll just see the edge of the toilet, and then it'll cut away.
Guys, these things not to do in your Kickstarter video. We'll talk later on about that. You don't learn from this, but do learn about seeing the toilet, but not half, always whole, and mostly several times.
If you want, I really like that shot of the bathroom. But there is also a shot of the little other miniatures, like the little grand piano, which is smaller than the bed, but it's still cute.
These are a tiny grand piano. It is a tiny grand piano. Some of the scales probably need to be changed slightly, but I mean, it is all representative. It's not figurative.
Oh yeah, no.
But there's also an upright piano, I think, somewhere in there as well.
Oh, was there an upright piano too?
There's an upright piano because there are because this house, to touch on the story again briefly. No, it's not spoilers, Amanda. Slight spoilers? No spoilers. The house that our missing novelist, who's called Gaius Loveheart is his name. His uncle Jeremiah whose house this originally was, and he's inheriting this decrepit condition, was a composer. So there's lots of kind of little musical instruments and things around the house, lots of little musical elements. Music is a very strong actual part of the experience as well as the sound. So we have a composer. So if you listen to the Kickstarter video, there has a lovely piece of music in the background. It's really nice. And that was done by our composer originally for the Kickstarter video. Actually, just made it for the Kickstarter video. Now that's over engineering a Kickstarter. Wow. Do that for the Kickstarter, guys. Wow. And so we're having a whole original music, whole original soundscape. Everything's original. That's the kind of, because again, sound is so important. And at screenwriting school, I remember we had a guy from the BBC Radio come in, and he said that the audio is the most cinematic medium. If you say, I am on the surface of an ice tundra planet being kind of under the gaze of two twin stars, your mind is like, look, there's an ice tundra planet. There's all these there's the twin stars. Your mind paints a cinematic picture. And I think it's worth thinking about how we can, that's one thing we really try to make sure we use all those kind of tricks and those kind of stuff to really create something which transports you both from the kind of audio and uses the physical, figurative elements for the kind of more the gameplay.
Well, especially in the quote unquote horror genre, sound is just so essential to storytelling experience, whether it's film or a game, especially a game.
Oh yes. My favorite genre of game is survival horror. I love horror games. Absolutely.
I love them. I can't play them. I watch people play them. God, not crafting. Water. No, this is great. We're like watching our vision diminish as we collapse from exhaustion.
What's also really cool, getting back to your game, is the lighting and just that you have lights inside of the thing.
Yeah, and it's and the way the circuit works, it's just a flickering circuit. So all the lights, it's not just like LEDs on, because we looked at lots of old circuits and stuff like that, and there's always a little slight flicker to them. So make sure it's a circuit that will flicker, so it feels like atmospheric lighting, and it's kind of all runs through the house. And it just, again, for Glenn on this project was kept on being we have to have it so they can play in the dark. We have to have it so they can play in the dark, so that they can sit there and literally they can turn off their house lights and nothing exists in their room apart from the house and the glowing light of Alexa. No, but still, nothing exists apart from the house. And that's because that kind of really, when you get down to it, it's what the project's about. It's just having it, make it sort of fully immersive experience. Nothing is there apart from the house. You're there, and there's. So have you either of you used Loctopus? I have obviously an extensively used Loctopus in a way that no man should use Loctopus. No, really, Loctopus is a great. It's just it's such a great system. I think people are going to really enjoy playing with it. But obviously,
I did have a quick question, a technical question. I think I saw it on your site, but we're mentioning it's Alexa. It's designed for Alexa. But if you don't have Alexa, would you still be able to use that system?
Absolutely, you can. I mean, I actually haven't played a Loctopus game on my Alexa because my Alexa is stupid. My Alexa. And basically, I dropped my Alexa about a year and a half ago, and the microphone just doesn't detect anything anymore.
And she's sad now.
So I use it to play music through Spotify, but so I only played on my phone. I'm using the Alexa app. Oh. So any smartphone, iOS after iOS 11, I think, and I think almost any version of Android, if it has Alexa app, you can play the game no problem. My advice would be if that you do its audio is really essential to the experience. So I'll be really quite upset if people play it from this. I will come and hurt people if they play it through just that.
So that adds a new experience.
Yeah, exactly. That's the true horror experience.
There are so many quotes that we can pull from this video. I would hurt people.
No, I think it's just any speakers, Bluetooth speakers, whatever, anything you can get was just ups because we're going to have these really nice soundscapes and the sound's going to be so good. The voice actors will be all professionally recorded and everything. I just want to sound that from a tinny iPhone 5S speaker, and everyone's like, "What? What's happening?" That would just. I I just don't think it's not the way it's meant to be played. So one person said, "Can I play it on Sonos Beam?" And I'm like, "Yeah." You can play it on Sonos Beam, a 600-pound Alexa-powered speaker. Please play it on Sonos Beam. Please, will everyone buy a Sonos Beam so they can play it on Sonos Beam?
So when we're talking about the cost of the game, we should add in
add on Sonos Beam directly from Sonos. We get, of course, we'd make sure we make no margin on
no
that,
product placements here. I had a quick question then about this system, and it's obviously an important storytelling. It's interesting how you're telling the story for a take-home game with the Alexa app. And so it's interactive in a way. You mentioned like getting to know a character, or is it like, are you basically attempting to talk to a character, or are you giving instructions and that character responds to that?
So I think because of course it's horror. Think of like ultimately we wanted it to have it in quite a stylized way. So effectively the idea is that you're kind of reliving someone's kind of memories. So you're kind of like, it's his first person narration. Yeah. So you're kind of going through, and he's like, I looked at this. I could see a tree, and you're like, climb the tree, and it's like, I looked at the tree. I guess I could climb it. I really don't want to try. I'm not particularly athletic, and you're like, climb the tree, and it's like, I climbed the tree. Particularly, so what you're trying to do is, and that's where. So we have two characters, Ryland Spectre and Tabitha Vox, and Tabitha Vox is kind of this like enigmatic figure. Who knows how old she is? She could be 10 years, she could be 1,000 years old. She's kind of this incredibly complex, shrouded figure. And you have Ryland Spectre, who's like played by James Killeen excellently, who's kind of this tinkerer and charlatan and like charming guy, but he's ultimately like a bit of a fish out of water in this guy. He's not like an athletic superhero. He's just a guy trying to investigate something, and he made lots of mistakes happen. Things don't go always entirely right. You make bad calls, but it's a character on a journey through this house, and they're quite at the point this kind of you get in the Spectre and Vox timeline. They're like really early in their paranormal investigating, so they're not quite there yet as a team. Yeah. So it's kind of like that kind of like early X-Files kind of vibe where you kind of have these two characters who get along really well, but kind of finding out how to work with each other. So
fortunately, they had cool last names to make their agency, because it would.
What a coincidence! That's their names that they were christened with. So it's a coincidence that it's not lovely that they came to me and said, "Would you make a game about our agency?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I do appreciate. No, I wanted to ask, because you were talking about the technology, and so it's a little bit like one of those parser-based or adventure games where
very much so.
You're just
like adventure game is definitely something that like we could keep on being like this is like it has escape room elements and it has escape room kind of style puzzles in it, but it definitely is about that feeling of journey, like that feeling. I think escape rooms often tend to be at their worst quite static. That you kind of like feel like I'm in a room and things are here for me to do. And when they're all done, that is when I go. And that's when Errol puts his shoes off and leaves the room. But I think what we really wanted to create is the sense of journey that, there's a tree, you see a tree, you climb a tree, you go get a bird's nest out, the bird's nest fall, like everything feels like you're moving through and you're interacting with it and you're kind of having this kind of sense of adventure, and the environment gives back as much as you're giving to it. And like really, because one of my favorite games ever is the adventure games. Actually, is the first Broken Sword game. Broken Sword, absolutely one of my top ever games.
The one with the clown? No.
It is the one with the clown. It is the one with the clown.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. And I think it's a real. I mean, again, it has lots of like escape room kind of elements in it as well. Lots of escape room style puzzles, but it also has just lots of wonderful adventure game moments where you just think, I could get them to do that. What will happen? Like all this kind of stuff. Like this is like just outside the house, there's a rock, and you're like look at the rock. I could throw it through the window, and you like throw it through the window, and it's like I don't really know why I did that. But and then of course that rock comes back with a vengeance later on. That's Chekhov's rock there.
That's a good word for it. Yeah.
But again, it's that thing of like making it so that the environment, that sense of. The sense of play, not just the sense of play within puzzles, but the sense of play is in a playful sandbox for you to do lots of fun things in, nearly all of which lead somewhere or kind of have a point to it. But the good thing about Lockbirds and the way it's designed is some things can be kind of just like, like a little bit of a dead end. It's a very, very brilliantly designed system. I think real credit to David and Chris Holland, who's the other guy on the project. They've done an amazing job, especially on the back end.
Well, yeah, because you have to design for a lot there, like what people are going to try and get the characters to do and stuff, and obviously there's limits. And
and the good thing is that we can specify what those limits are, and also we're going to be because I think like ultimately quite a careful designer, like not in the sense of like is that I worry about liminal situations. So I want to be able to like give people like an actions card of like, here's what you can do in any situation. So they're not thinking. For me, they can just like be like, I know what is always possible. A bit like that taskbar at the bottom. Yeah. You can pick up, do this, that. Just think about what you can do with everything that you see, and you can always try it, see if it works. Doesn't, whatever. But it's that kind of thing about using that system, and also making sure that the things that we create within the world and the objects and the hand-painted objects in the walls and the various environments feel like they're obvious enough that you can want to instruct or inspect or deal with or find more about. So it's a kind of those have to play together nicely, which has been a complex ask, but really fun.
The most difficult part about any type of parser-based game is the hunt for a verb part, right? Trying to figure out what the word is.
And that's one thing that we've really done. There aren't many verbs, but there are and sometimes you might have to think about what you do or what you use or what all that kind of stuff. But the verb element is just trying to like absolutely limit that so that it all feels, because like the thing about it is, one thing I've always found is like often in like Monkey Island and things like that. Actually, I'm not that familiar with Monkey Island, but other Avenger games, they used to have like pick up and use. I'm like, surely if something's in the ground and you use it, they're not saying that you don't want to just like push it. You probably want to pick it up. It means like see what it can do. So there's like, you can just start to like not be difficult with the game design and just give a little bit and have a bit of a softer touch about what things mean, and use synonyms and things like that. Be like, really, what does use mean? What is use? Does use mean pull a switch? Yeah, of course it does. You need to have pull and push. Day the tentacle. So I mean, the system is very flexible, and I think, the game exists completely on the back end. We have a nice through line of it. So we're going to get that up in its feet more and more and more, being able to test again and see what we can do.
What I like about the idea of the Locktopus system, especially like with these take-home games, with the take-home escape rooms, I have found that as fun as they can be, sometimes they are only as good as the person leading it. Or sorry, they're only as immersive as the person leading it. And if you've ever, for instance, played a take-home game with Errol, and it is a story-heavy game, and Errol insists that he be the one to read all of the narrative, let's just say it's a little less than immersive than they intended. Even, come on, I barely.
Errol, does this accusation stand, or is this a lie?
There might be more trolling in the narrative than there originally was written, but it's more fun and far more immersive because it involves
fun for how many percentage of the people you're playing with? Is it always the percentage that's Errol? So if 5-20,
and
if
other
10-10.
People too.
And other people too.
Yeah. We have our initial is he going to talk like this the whole time?
And the answer is always yes. And the answer
is always yes.
And he has the lack of empathy card. I don't have empathy, guys.
I'm having fun. And so, but with this one, what's nice is like you don't have to, like, because there's voice actors in there portraying the characters, because there's a soundscape built in that already does the work for you or for the players to help them get into that world.
Absolutely. I think I have a lot of because partly because I did my master's drama school, and so I have lots of very strong opinions on acting. And sometimes I'm like, just like when people do an intro and they act for me, I'm like, just maybe don't do anything, and then maybe it's better, or maybe just like hire somebody to do a video and then it's better, or maybe just silence. And so,
no game at all. No.
yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
I agree. That's why I skip half the dialogue.
it's not quite the point I'm making, Errol, but I admire the effort in coming a little bit down the path towards my point. It was generous of you to take a look down and see where I can go and then decide to abandon it immediately. So I think that for me, and also veering slightly actually towards making a Kickstarter in the thing.
Yeah, that's just gonna say, yeah.
So my background is video production, so video and audio production. So for me, the knowledge and pipeline of how to make all this audio is something that I already know, and I know, and I record. I'm a sound engineer, so I can record all our sound. I can record all our stuff. So for me, to make it sound good, it's something that other people will be like, how do I make it sound good? How to make it sound, all this kind of stuff.
That'd be me, yeah.
And that's for me not a worry, because I've had a decade of fucking it up to get to this point. And I've made it. I don't have to learn, because I've made all the mistakes already along the way.
Yeah.
So for me, the good thing about it is, from production point of view, I know exactly the pipeline I want for everything, and so that's one of the advantages. This particular project plays quite. I mean, obviously it's designed that way to play quite nicely into my hands to make it sound, because I know how to make it sound, and the person I'm working with, Matt, I always work with on sound stuff, and we work with on 7 different things and have the same pipeline for how we do stuff. So it's one of these things of this. Again, I'm very suspicious of external contractors, and so this and that's why this is the most in-house project you'll ever see. Literally nothing is done externally, which is great and means there's huge amounts of control of it. But it makes it a different kind of project for a lot of things that you see out there, where people are pitching and they're saying, look, we need this kind of thing, this kind of back end. The only real external part is Loctopus. And that's done by someone who is very trusted and very respected, Christopher Holland. And I guess David Spire as well. No, he is very I just wanted to, I was like, you did say we've got to rib them slightly. So that was my tiny little rib.
And they've been working on Loctopus for years. I don't know. It seems.
Oh yeah, I mean, to create a toolless backend for something as fundamentally complex as Alexa and as permanently shifting, I think has been a long and complex road.
Moving on into the Kickstarter thing. So yes, so you've designed this humongous game. So first things first, I guess.
Congratulations!
Congratulations, first of all. I think you're nominated. Fantastic. What drove you, what made you decide Kickstarter is the way to go, considering that your previous projects such as Time Run and that were not done through crowdfunding and that sort of thing? And what's your experience been like doing your first Kickstarter?
I mean, the answer to the Kickstarter, the why Kickstarter, I kind of has two questions. Why Kickstarter, not any other platforms? It's because all other crowdfunding platforms are a trash fire. Indiegogo is where scammers go to take your money, and Kickstarter is by far the most reputable of them. That kind of wasn't the question you were asking. I just really wanted to get Indiegogo for a second. But the question of why Kickstarter is this is a project that was a passion project to what we have. We want to make sure we make our money back and we want to do really well. We want to make sure we have people to sell things to, because when we don't want to have lots of stock sitting around, we want to be able to. It's the Kickstarter is kind of the best way to pre-order something, right? It's like a platform where most people who are fairly tech savvy have dabbled with it or have an account at some point, whether they even back something or just wanted to see what was going on there. So it's a good way to reach a lot of people and not have to drive traffic to your website, not to build your own e-commerce website, all of which come with different varying costs as well. It's also a great way to build hype around a product. And one thing that I've particularly enjoyed is that the route to sale for nearly every other product I've always gone has been like, how do you say this simpler? How do you say this simpler? How do you say this simpler? What about Kickstarter is that people are like, no, tell me as much as you're comfortable to say, so I can find out what I want about the information about the product. I know what I'm interested in about these products. So our Kickstarter is massive, loads of images. We've thrown everything at them, pictures of bathrooms upon bathrooms upon bathrooms, and so it's like, for the people who are like me along them, they're just like they bought instantly. The team bathroom. I think it's actually like, I actually think overall from my first time experience of it, a relatively, if you're in a community where you think you can reach enough people already, and you have enough of a way to amplify your voice, Kickstarter is quite a logical thing to do. And it's also just looking at like, so actually one thing I've been looking into recently is things like, this is a bit of warning people, a bit of a cautionary tale for Kickstarters. Young men and women, gather round, come by the fire, listen to the cautionary tale of the Kickstarter that went wrong. No, I'm just saying that. So a lot of Kickstarters, they don't do that well, and they want to go to these affiliate marketing places like BackerKit. BackerKit's a great way to do fulfillment. With BackerKit, and if you have a product with a really high profit margin, I'm sure it's great to sell your things to. But they can take upward of like 25%, 30% of your price, just to get that product over the line. And so like a lot of people will do that Kickstarter, get worried, go to these things which do massively amplify your voices, because they've got such a kind of, all those like best in tech crowdfunding, like Facebook ads that you see, best in this, best board games, they're all basically BackerKit and it's various things in different disguises. And there's a huge percentage and cost of that. So I was going to say, if you are going to come at it from the word go without any particular thing, make sure you build a product with enough margin to really pay for the marketing, with that marketing company to get it out there, which we know we haven't done, because partly number one, if we're taking that much amount of money from us, we're just basically we're paying people to take the product off us, like basically not so simple, but it's, if we're giving so much away per product. But it's, again, like that, I think if you are going to start a Kickstarter, make sure you're confident in your audience, you're confident you can amplify, you're confident you can call in every favor you have. Like a lot of my for me, it was asking a lot of my escape room owner friends to just do a Facebook post about it, just help, like, especially on that launch day, if you can, do something about it here, it's so helpful. I didn't push it, it wasn't like hard sell or anything, but it was just knowing that we could get over the line, safely and quickly. I wasn't expecting in 3 hours. That was a bit quicker than I thought it was going to be. And also a very nice 3 hours when I was delirious with tiredness and just, toilets flying around my head like little birdies in a cartoon. But yeah, I think that, my main thing about Kickstarter is that from a pure budgeting point of view, if you're not coming from a start where from a jog or a run, really prepared to have those margins there so you can sell it. If you are coming from kind of a good start, like I think we were, I've got friends who can help me. I've got this, I've got enough of a small reputation in this very small industry that people might be more encouraged to click on my link than a cold link, which just does help. Then I would say just try and be modest, understand, but also invest in the production of it. So all our graphics took ages, like the video. I produced the video, so I edited it, but the video looks really nice. But I'm lucky, and that's my background, so I can do that. But you have to pay someone to do that, and it costs a lot, to hire a video producer. And I got my friend Ben, who's the best cameraman I know, to film it, and he's amazing. And he, did it for a nice deal to try and help us out. But again, these kind of things, it was still a cost that we had to have. You have to invest in it. A Kickstarter is a risk. And if we hadn't made our target, we would have lost a huge amount of money.
Right.
That's just the truth of it. And it is a risk, and you've got to take those risks sometimes if you think you can. And I'm not an expert in Kickstarter. I can't tell you how to do it. I can tell you, I can tell you the empirical things about, the BackerKit and stuff, which is just worth bearing in mind in case you think that was a backup, in case your Kickstarter didn't deliver on it. But I do think that the main thing, I do think that Kickstarter seems to be fairly fair in some ways. The products do seem to find mostly their market, but you've got to make sure that you have a way for people to do that. and get to share that voice. That's my Kickstarter opinion. Now over to the diva and diplomat.
The diva and the diplomat.
Any questions on that? I hope that was cohesive and made sense.
No, that was. I mean, you talked about you have an audience that you could reach, and you knew who your audience were, and you were able to leverage that audience to also help market for you. Because one of the most difficult parts about the Kickstarter as well is marketing, as you know that we don't do very well here.
But I mean, the good thing is I mean, I review on it, but this is not a profit-making enterprise. It doesn't matter. It will get like, you know, and I think from my perspective, and also it's about like, we were really concerned about like trying to offer something that people wanted. I know that's stupid and obvious, like from our perspective, but we're like, will people want this? We think people want this. But it's again that question of like, is this the product that people want right now? Because again, we only have like 700 backers, so that's only 700 people. You know, it's not a huge amount of people in the grand scheme of things. But you just have to know what your market is and who they are. And we haven't even really touched on US and Canada yet, partly because we didn't have Canadian shipping at the beginning.
There was much yelling from me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know, it's all right.
That was when I was a diva.
That was when you were a diva. I think because we were basically, it was more expensive than we thought it would be, and we were struggling. We were waiting for some other quotes to come in, and we were like, we'll just tell the quote that we know, and the answer is that it might be less than that, but it's just shipping to Canada. Why is it so difficult to get pricing?
Don't you guys rule us? Shouldn't it be like?
The only thing that we rule is like an increasingly small part of an anti-Anglophone sphere where everyone hates England. So you know, but I'm sure. I mean, has Canada tried to ditch the Queen at all yet? Is it going to?
I think we're just sort of lethargic about it. She's on our money still, and I have friends who are like super into royalty, like buy the magazines, and I don't know. Don't ask me. Like my mom magazines right over there that are just filled with the Queen and everything that they're doing.
But it's just like it's a double page spread and it's her face like it's 600 times zoom.
Yeah, exactly.
Her eyes like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I think there are lots of people probably in this time who, especially as established escape room companies, who could have done incredibly successful Kickstarters if they'd wanted to. But that also, I think there also comes, which I think, which is my concern, not from an ego point of view, is that my face is going to win that video, and I didn't want people to be like, we don't put our money and trust this man's face with my cash. I don't know, really like, you know what, product looks great, but this shifty man. No money for him.
With your money, yeah.
So that was my only fear was like I just didn't want to look stupid, like more stupid than I already do personally. But I didn't want to look like, you know, I didn't want to look like I put it all out there and it hadn't gone well. And the good thing is we're only 4 days in now, and we've done pretty well. Obviously, we'd really like to do like better, because, you know, obviously the more we sell, the more we can do with the product, you know, like it helps the product develop. We've got loads of amazing stretch goals, and we're just about to hit our first one. I was hoping to be able to actually tell our second stretch goal for you guys, but that would be not Kickstarter etiquette to do that.
Yeah,
to announce it on a podcast that only the three of us listen to.
Because you're a face that people have to trust.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe that's not the way to do it. Yeah.
Maybe it's not the way. Maybe it is. So.
Well, what's great is that you've done a lot of world building, obviously, and you've given yourself the window to expand it, or to have other stories later, to just like that, all that work you put into it, you gave yourself room to actually keep going with it.
I mean, I'm personally only interested in building worlds. I create this one-off. I've only ever designed one-off game, and with like Glenn and I designed it last year before this happened, and it's that is the most ridiculous live game. When we build it one day, you're gonna die. like because you're not expecting it. It's just like, it's hilarious, it's stupid, it's so fun, so over the top, so amazing. And then we were like, I was like, I'm just gonna do a one-off game. These are my first only one-off game, no universe building, no world gaming, no world bible, no detail, just one game. And then like a year later we're like, yeah, but they could be like, part of this could be this kind of thing, and then the two interact. And I was like, oh yeah, we just go away. 3 weeks later there's a little tiny baby world bible just on its own little feet. And so already I'm building a universe around that game as well. But again, for me, what excites me is that like I always get disappointed in, not always a strong, but like lots of games I played, I'm like, that I loved that idea. Wouldn't it be great to see it from a different angle, or see what the effects of this were, or see how the things that are surrounding it are, kind of learn more about this universe we've created. And you just don't get to do that often with escape rooms. And that's something that personally I find most satisfying. I find that little kind of sense of that everything's interlocking and interplaying nicely, and someone's thought about that. It's the kind of curate's egg kind of thing. You kind of feel that someone has taken the care to put it all together delicately. But that's just something that I particularly like, and therefore it's always there because they're my games, damn it. And if I want to build a world, you can't
create 20 MCU universes that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but then we had to have like Thor: The Dark World. I'll never do a Thor: The Dark World. Jesus Christ! Look, if I ever do a Thor: The Dark World, it's time to ship me off to the glue factory, guys.
Noted.
The one thing going for you, which I hope people understood, is that you had a lot of in-house. You have a lot of abilities and a lot of talents for you to make a very professional looking Kickstarter. And that is super helpful, right? So like you yourself already, you're in video and your audio, and that helps an awful lot when creating a Kickstarter.
Oh, absolutely. And I think people underestimate how important video is. And also I think like it's little things as well. Like for a project like 3 years ago, I had to learn how to make high resolution but low bandwidth GIFs. And they're such a nice sales tool to have a thing. But it took me like 3 days to work out how to make them like really like the right settings to make them compressed. And and because Photoshop making GIFs is very difficult and very annoying because it's a legacy product in it. They don't really like doing it. If someone was to put together a team doing Kickstarter, I'd say make sure that you have someone who's doing video in from the word go. Make sure you get them in to help make your Kickstarter page as well with assets. Get like hire designers and don't hire your friend of a friend. Hire someone who's a style you like, and like just you've got to spend the money. So it's again these things about just know what your skills are. Be honest with yourself. I think a lot of escape room owners in general, judging from a lot of the graphics that they have and the logos that they have, aren't aware that maybe they don't have a good eye for design. And that's the thing is, it's like, I'm not a designer. So I'm like, like no matter how good a logo I could knock up, if I spent 500 quid hiring a designer for 2 days or a day and be like, here's my ideas, put them on a plate and just got them to sit down, they'll be able to create something 5 times better than me. It's like, and even this logo, which is really nice logo, really simple. That took someone like a designer we always use, a really great guy. That took him like a couple of like really good hashes to kind of get at. But it's elegant and simple because that's what we wanted. But if I had to do that, I would have made something much more simple, but not any more elegant. So it's again, know what you can't do. I think that's my other thing. And also try and be lucky if you can. If you can just, if you get some luck from eBay, you can get it from Amazon next day. Just get some in, ship some in. And yeah.
Lucky is important.
Luck, yeah, really, it's all of it. Did you say your stretch goals are on your Kickstarter? And I didn't see it?
We're revealing them as we got 100K one, which is an additional experience. So
okay.
It kind of extends the play time by about half an hour to 45 minutes. Or maybe a bit longer. I haven't really decided. Like it could be a bit longer than I've actually scripted. Sometimes it's difficult to work these things out, how long they are. I think I've grossly underestimated the playtime. I think the playtime is like 2 hours longer, but I'm like, I'd rather go at the bottom end and the people be happily surprised.
Oh yeah, I hear you. I always grossly underestimate how long it'll take somebody.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, it's difficult. It's like it's really difficult to do, but it's better to be conservative and be like, look, you're getting this amount for this much. Um, so yeah, it's a but there's next stretch goal is really nice, but it's the third stretch goal. That's the one. That's the whether we get there or whether we even see it. That's the one that is very exciting. I can't say that just yet.
Some people might not even know that there's a third stretch goal.
So well, we may not reach stretch goal number 2.
Yeah.
You know, it's already the project has already been like successful from my point of view. Obviously, I'd love to, you know, get much more because it just, you know, means that we can make more out there. We can make more of the product, but you know.
So the cool aspect is, I do believe, wasn't Spectre Vox like a pick on Kickstarter?
It's a project we love.
Okay,
and I think I don't. They used to do staff picks.
Okay,
and I think now because Kickstarter is so popular, they have just a broader category, which is projects we love, and that appears to help discovery. I don't quite know. It'd be lovely if we were included in their mail out. Kickstarter, if you're listening, please on Tuesday continue.
Because they're totally listening to this podcast.
Everyone, either look, you have no evidence. Either everyone or no one listens. You do not have any idea whether it's 5 billion or 1.
Although this will be a YouTube video. And we have a better idea of how unpopular we are.
Yes, that's gonna be an emotional roller coaster for you guys.
Yeah.
Oh well, for Mad Pants, maybe no emotion for me. Remember?
Yeah, that's gonna be a sympathetic roller coaster. Amanda, I understand that you're feeling on an emotional roller coaster. I can identify that, but I do not identify with it. I'm clarifying it because I use the word identify.
Mm-hmm. I can see the roller coaster. I'm just not on it.
Yeah, I just. Do you enjoy roller coasters?
And I don't want to get on it. There you go.
I do. Now, do you have any other... Sorry, I mean, we could talk about Mad Pants and myself, but it's more fun to have Nick stare at the camera, because, you know, it's...
I'm not staring at the camera. I'm actually staring, like, here.
I know, but I was prompting you, too. Anyway, do you plan on having... Have you had any interest from other media, either online or print or any other...
Not really. We probably... should do something about that. That would be a good strategy. We thought about it, but we just were not sure how, like, bluntly, how much is Man Starts Kickstarter a story. One of our friends helped us out with marketing, who we worked with before, and she's amazing, and she was like, I'm just not we can put, it's well worth putting the effort in at some point along the life of the Kickstarter once we have a good story. But we're reaching out to some board game websites and stuff like that because there is an overlap there. But I think whereas escape room people, largely speaking, have understood completely what the product is, which I think is testament to the, because escape room people are used to, like, it's an online game, but it's different this way. It's this game, it's an avatar game. They're very intellectually flexible. Board game people have been like, is it replayable? Can I be the GM? And I'm like, you just need to make sure you really focus on what we're offering is, because I think when board game people are like putting it in that board game category, and it's not really a board game. It's more like immersive theater meets adventure game, you know, with escape room puzzles in it. And again, you know, people, if you look at the value proposition of board game, yes, you can play, you know, one board game 45 times. Most people don't. But at the same time, in this one, you're getting a much deeper and richer experience than, you know, most board games you get, just in terms of what you get, in terms of the quality of the acting, the soundscapes, all this kind of stuff, and the physical made of objects. So it's one of these things of like, we're reaching out to board game websites, but we really want to make sure we get the messaging right, which is a question that, you know, we're trying to work out as we go along. You know, because again, it's a beautiful object, and believe me, I think it's incredible value for money, knowing, you know, how much, you know, we're getting everything for cost and we're making it this kind of thing. So it's just about making sure people understand that, and that it's not a board game, it's something different and kind of a new format, which I think is the exciting thing. It's a new format within the kind of like at-home games, but being first to market is always annoying because no one has the bloody language for what you're doing it.
I wonder if the road has been paved, because at least we have now out there our escape room board games, so that at least the escape room the board game world understands that all the escape room board games, the majority of them, are not replayable, right? They are a one-time only thing. And
I mean, you can actually to be fair, you can replay this. You can play this as many times as you want.
Yeah.
What I mean is right, because there's no destructible elements, because that would just hurt me.
Yes. True.
But it's more that it is a story. Mm-hmm. It's a story, and that's it, really. Sorry,
And it's hard to know, because especially since Manpans and I are in the escape room community, we will see this. Actually, we can't help but not see it on our social media feeds, because it's just everywhere. But that's because of where we are. We are in the escape room community and the industry. And so I would just, and I also see that because of COVID, the number of Kickstarters for puzzle, take-home, online, mail order, escape room, board game, adjacent, adventure, narrative, fun games are on the rise. That is not a proper term for them. You could probably try and work that in, though, into your marketing.
Oh my God, believe me, the discussion about what we were called was enough of a thing. And in the end, I'm like, I'm not even sure if this is the thing, but we're click and go. I do agree. I think like the road has been paved, but when you're it's more, I think, that we're combining a lot of the elements of escape room at home games. We're using Loctopus, we're using physically built sets, we're using these three things, this Triforce, wisdom, courage, and power at the same time. And what do we combine? Do we get Ganon? Or do we get Ganondorf? I don't even know what happens. No, we just get the Triforce. And then what is it? Do they just keep it in a box? I don't know. Like, what happens? What do they do with the Triforce after the end of Zelda?
They just put it on the back of their hand, and that's it. Really, I don't know.
That's
really
just
what happens.
Just like some cosmetic hand tattoos. It's so basic, Link. It's really boring. Yeah. So it is that sense of trying to make sure people understand what the product is, and also appreciate what the product is trying to do. Appreciate that it's doing something new. Appreciate that it's combining all these elements together and trying to bring literally a set into people's houses in the way that is most like economical and efficient, but also that has the things that make a set-led experience exciting. So it is a complex one. My hope usually is that someone, it's like before, when we used to have a time run, we would think when certainly the first company I was aware of used to get people that used pipelining, and I had no idea what to call it. And then someone said, oh yeah, well, obviously it's called pipelining. I'm like, yes, obviously that's what I'm going to use from now on, that term. So I'm just hoping that, in usual, the enthusiast community would just sort out the problem for me in some way, shape or form. But that hasn't happened yet, which I think is very lazy enthusiast, and I'm very disappointed. But my hope is that the enthusiast community, with all its amazing ingenuity, will find out what the right term is for. Because I found it interesting how, like, someone was like, it's another Haunted Manor game, like the one from another company. I'm like, that is a cardboard manor that's this big.
Like, did you see the toilets?
Did you see? I was like, I'm just gonna be quietly insulted that you think they're the same thing, and also just think that you have that's just lots of haunted house games now. Really, this is just another haunted house game. Is that what you're going to say? This is all just another haunted house game. It's massive.
Yeah,
it's massive. It's got 262 layers of bits in it.
I believe the words dining room table were used several times.
And now all my friends mock me constantly and say, "Oh, how's your dining table? Does it remain dominated?"
So now, for me, my litmus test will be: does it have lighting in a bathroom and a mini toilet and vanity? Really, that's what we should look for.
I'm not sure. We're probably going to move. We're going to spoiler. We're going to move the bathroom to the corner because we want to shift it about the layout. Spoiler. We're reinstalling the layout for lighting purposes, just because we think we can maybe add an extra light somewhere or two.
Ooh, I like
thrilling. Extra lights for your value.
Now, I know that Manpans has to go, because if anybody is watching this, you can see that she's in her parents' living room, and her parents.
And you might have been seeing
back.
me occasionally saying things on mute, and so I am taking over their space. And believe it or not, some people like to use their house, so they're sneaking back in.
That's fine. Well, I think this sounds like a great place for us all to call it an end, I guess.
But I could talk for much longer.
I know, yeah. So can I. But,
when have you stopped talking? You talk.
Well, when I put myself on mute, because
I see, but I thought you were still talking.
But does the talking stop?
No, because I'm sympathetic to people not wanting to hear my voice.
Oh, I see. This sounds like a whole new angle.
Okay, you can talk us out, man. Thank you very much, Nick Moran. We can find you on Kickstarter if you also search for Spectre and Vox, but you also have a website, Spectre and Vox, that you can look up, and Nick Moran's website. We'll put all of that wonderful stuff in. Well, actually,
I would just don't go to my website. Only go to the Kickstarter page. Exclusively go there, and there's like a bug on the Kickstarter page that you can only really see what the product is fully if you just click pledge and then input your credit card information. It's really it's really complex, but that's the only way you see all the objects and images. And don't worry.
This is how you get yourself to be a face you can trust.
Yeah, exactly. You have to really put, and sometimes it can happen like you have to set up 2 or 3 Kickstarter accounts and pledge with different people's credit cards. Friend, family, loved one, son, daughter. Doesn't really matter as long as just an idea.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Nick, and for being our guinea pig as well in our launching of our Designer Spotlight series.
We're not going to have a slate or anything. It's just going to be Nick's face. Designer series.
A face we can trust, yes.
A face you can trust. For now.
For now. All right. Well, I guess I will talk us out. So RoomScape Divas is brought to you by Inverse Genius. You can go to other Inverse Genius to find podcasts, and you can also go to Inverse Genius to find our regular podcast series as well, RoomScape Divas. You can email us at roomescapedivas@gmail.com if you would have any questions. We love to get questions. You can go to our Facebook page, click the like button on the RoomScape Divas Facebook page. We do have community meetups once a week in which we, invite the community to yet another Zoom call, and we chat, even more casually than we do now about escape rooms and what's going on in the world. And we make those events on Facebook. And if you are using Twitter, you can use the hashtag REDivas.
And somebody has to.
Someone will someday use it again for 20
Yeah,
years.
I mean, if you use it, you get to 2014 pretty quickly, guys. I looked last time. like literally one scroll.
Yeah, if you use it, we'll notice it because nobody else is using it.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.